Learn about tertiary colors. Computer monitors and device screen create different colors by combining amount of red, green and blue light. This is known as RGB additive color model in modern color theory. Red, green and blue are called primary color. Mixing two primary colors create the secondary colors: cyan, green plus blue, magenta, red plus blue and yellow, red plus green. You saw these colors in the complementary colors challenge. These secondary colors happen to be the complementary to the primary color, not used in their creation, and are opposite to their primary color on the color wheel. For example, magenta is made with red and blue and is a complement to green. Tertiary color are the result of the combining primary color with one of the secondary color neighbor. For example, within the RGB color model, red primary and yellow secondary make orange tertiary. This adds 6 more color to the simple color wheel for a total of 12. There are various methods of selecting different colors that results in the harmonious combination of design. One example that can use tertiary color is called the split complementary color scheme. This scheme starts with the base color, then pairs it with the two colors that are adjacent to its complement. The three colors provide strong visual contrast in a design but are more subtle than using two complementary colors. Here are three colors created using the split complementary scheme: color and hex code, orange, cyan, and raspberry. Change the background color property of the orange, cyan, and raspberry classes to their respective. So orange, so orange. So in the orange, need this color. This is the orange color. So in the cyan, we need cyan color, which is the light green, and the raspberry, which is reddish. Make sure to use the hex code and not the color names. The div element with the class orange should have the background color of orange. Div element with class cyan should have the background color of cyan. The div element with the raspberry should have the background color of raspberry. All background color values for the color classes should be hex code, not the color name. So these are some of the tertiary colors that are used by combining primary and secondary color. So this orange color is made by red and yellow, mixing red and yellow. So cyan is made by using green and blue. So if we run the test, complete it and go to the next challenge, adjust the color of various elements to complementary colors. The complementary color challenge shows that opposite colors on the color wheels can make each other appear more vibrant when placed side by side. However, the strong visual contrast can be jarring if it is overused on a website, and can sometimes make text harder to read if it is placed on a complementary color background. In practice, one of the colors is usually dominant and complement is used to bring visual attention to certain content on the page. This page will use a shade of teal as a dominant color and its orange complement to visual highlight the sign up button Change the background color of both header and footer from black to the teal color, then change the H2 text color to teal as well. Finally, change the background color of the bottom to the orange color. So what we are going to the header elements should have the background. So from here, change the background color of both the header and footer to teal, to this color, shade of teal. So background color teal. This is the teal, and the background color of footer and the background color of S2 and the background color of button is orange. The header element should have the background color of this, footer element also this, S2 element should have the color of also same teal color, shade of teal. The button should have the orange color. Everything looks fine if you run the test completely and go to the next challenge. Adjust the hue of the color. Color absorber characteristics including hue, saturation and lightness. CSS3 introduced the HSL hue, saturation and lightness property as an alternative way to pick a color by directly stating this characteristic. Hue is what people generally think of as color. If you picture a spectrum of color starting with red on the left, moving through green in the middle and blue on the right, the hue is where a color fits along this line. In HSL, hue uses a color wheel concept instead of spectrum, where the angle of the color on a circle is given as a value between 0 to 360. Saturation is the amount of gray in color. The fully saturated color has no gray in it, and a minimal saturated color is almost completely gray. And this is given as percentage with 100% being fully saturated. Lightness is the amount of white or black in the color. A percentage in which ranging from 0 black to 100% white, where 50% is the normal color. Here are the few examples of HSL with fully saturated, which means no gray on it. Normal lightness color. So H is the hue. In the hue, saturation 100%, fully saturated means it has no gray. This has no gray on it. And this is the light. 50% lightness means this is the normal color. Red, yellow, green, cyan. Change the background color of each div element based on the class name. Green, cyan and blue using HSL. So in the green we need the green HSL. So this is full saturation 100%, and this is lightness. If we keep 100% lightness, it will completely turn into white, and if we give 5%, which is black, and 20, so goes to 50. Similarly, cyan, for cyan 180, 100% and 50. So we are only changing the hue. So in this blue also we are only changing the hue, which is 240. So these are the three shades. Your code should have HSL property to declare green, cyan and blue. The div element whose class is green should have the background color of green, cyan should have the cyan and blue should have the blue. If you run the test, submit and go to the next cell of a color. Also with pink color used by tinting their respective amount of how much the color base different default background. Okay, and background color and which is it uh it, it 50 fully 50 black middle background color color is go to the next create ready to on eliminate text direction color by the degree and left makes left back make red uh, to the change the color to color. Get the specify so 300 degree five to this equal 20 degree color go to the gradient similar which we gradient and gradient color place trace the and away from itself color and example as picture load and every node color to of the 45 the first stops finally repeat stops it's black Create and subtle pattern. The key balance as you don't want the background to stand out too much and take away from the foreground. The background properties support the URL function in order to link an image of an chosen text or pattern. The link address is wrapped in quotes inside the parentheses using the URL. Set the background of the web page with the body selected. So inside of this, your body element should have the background. So we have the background URL inside the parentheses. In the background property suppose the URL function in order to link an image on a chosen text or the link address is left inside the quotes inside the parentheses. So if we click this inside this, the whole body will have this picture like this. This is now picture. I think you can see this is now picture. If you run the test, complete it and go to the next challenge. Use the CSS transform scale properties to change the size of the element. To change the scale of element, CSS has the transform property along with the scale function. In the following code example, double the size of the paragraph element on the page. Increase the size of the element with the ID of bold to 1.5 times. So bold to if you transform it to the function scale and 1.5, it will double. And if we have 10 times, this is the 10 time. If we have 0 time, this won't get 0.5 times. So we have 1.5 times. If you run the transform property for the ball tool should be set to scale it with 1.5 times its size. Use the CSS transform scale property to scale the element on hover. The transform property has a variety of functions that lets you scale, move, rotate, skew, etc. your elements. When used with the pseudo classes such as hover that specifies or instead of element, the transform property can easily add interactivity to your element. Here is the example to scale a paragraph element to 2.1 times their original size when a user hovers over them. Not applying the transform to a div element will also affect any child element contained in the div. Add a CSS rule for a hover instead of the div and use the transform property to scale the div element to 1.1 time its original size on its hover. So this is the div. We have a div. So inside of div, we should get here. So when the div is in hover state, we use hover. It will transform. So we use scale function to 1.1 times. So if you hover, it is changing the size to 1.1. So the size of the div elements will scale 1.1 times when the user hovers over it. Run the test, go to the next challenge. Use the CSS transform property skew x to skew an element along the x-axis. The next function of the transform property is the same transform property is the skew x function, which skews the selected elements along its horizontal axis by a given degree. The following code skews the paragraph element by -32 degree along the x-axis. So skew the element with the ID bottom. So with the ID bottom by 24 degree along the x-axis using transform. So we will use your transform. So we will use skew capital X function, and we will transform this to 24 degrees. So trans spelling, I think T L is transform. So this transform X. So if you give this 100 or 50, okay, this is the 50, 20, okay, so we have a 24. The element with the ID bottom should be skewed by the 24 degree along its, so along the x-axis it is 24, along the x-axis it is 24 degree skewed. Run the test, go to the next challenge. Use the CSS transform property to skew y to skew an element along the y-axis. Given that the skew x function skews the selected elements along the x-axis by the given degree, it is not surprising that the skew y property skews the element along the y vertical axis. Skew the element with the top ID 10 degree along the x using transform. So using transform function, if we skew y to -10 degree. So this is the, so if you give it a 50, so this, the element with the ID tops will be skewed by -10 degree along its y, axis. This is the x-axis, this is the y-axis. On the test, go to the next challenge. Create a graphic using CSS. By manipulating different selectors and properties, you can make interesting shape. One of the easier ones to try is the crescent moon shape. For this challenge, you will need to work with the box shadow property, then set the shadow of the element along with the border radius property that controls the roundness of the element corner. You will create a round transparent object with a crisp shadow that is slightly offset to the side. The shadow is actually going to be the moon shape you see. In order to create a round object, the border radius property should be set to the value of 50%. You may recall from the earlier challenge that the box shadow property takes value of offset x, offset y, blur radius, spread radius, and the color value. In that order, the blur radius and the spread radius values are optional. Manipulate the first square element in the editor to create moon shape, or change the background color to transparent. So this to transparent. So this is the white color. The border radius should be 50 pixels, or we can do 50% same. to make the circle. The circle finally change the box shadow property to set 50%, 50%, 50% box shadow property to set offset X to 25 pixel and offset Y. So this is the box shadow. The value of the background should be transparent, but the value of the box shadow should be set to offset 0 finally blue of color. So in the X, I change the box shadow property to set the offset X. So this is the offset X, this is the 25 pixel, this is the 10 pixel, this is also the 10 pixel. So this is only the blue color, I think. So if you run the test, the value of the box should be set to 25 pixel, 10 pixel, 0 and 0. So this should be 0 and 0. Oh, so I was getting spread radius. If you give 7 seconds, if you give high, high, if you give 0, and if you give the radius also 0, and these are the 25 pixel, and this is the offset X. Okay, if we give this the 50, so this is the offset X, and this is the offset Y. So if we run the test completely and go to the next sentence, create a more complex shape using CSS and HTML. One of the most popular shapes in the world is the heart shape, and in this challenge you will create one using pure CSS, but first you will need to understand the pseudo before and the pseudo elements. These pseudo elements are used to add something before or after a selected element. In the following example, the before pseudo element we used to add a rectangle to an element with the class heart before. For the before and after pseudo element to function properly, they must be defined content property. This property is usually used to add things like a photo or text to the selected element. When the before and after pseudo classes are used to make safe, the content property is still required, but is set to an empty string. In the above example, the element with the class of heart as the before pseudo element that produces a yellow rectangle with the height and width of 15 pixel and 70 pixel respectively. This rectangle has round corners has the round corners due to its 25% border radius and position absolute at 5 pixel from the left and 50 pixel from the top of the element. Transform the element on the screen to a heart in the heart after after selector, change the background color to pink. So this is same one. So before, if we comment this out, this is the before and this is the same hot color. So if we comment on this also, so this is the hot with position actually margin 0, background color pink, white and red, 50 pixel green. So this is the color, and before is also same. Good. Border radius of 50%. After is the blue color. So transform the element on the screen to odd in the odd. After selector, change the background color to this also to pink. So the both are pink. Content is needed. Border radius to 50%. Okay. Next, target the element with the hot, just the hot, and fill the transform property. And rotate with -45 degree. Okay, rotate with -45 degree. Full odd gets rotated. Finally, in the odd before selector content in selector set its content to empty. So this is also the same. So we have the hot, yellow hot here. The background color property should have the hot selector should be pink. Border radius of the hot should be 50%. The transform property of the hot should have the rotate function set to -45 degree. The content of the hot before selector should be an empty string. If we run the test, go to the next challenge. Learn how to CSS keyframes and animation properties work. To animate an element, you need to know about the animation property and the keyframes rule. The animation property controls how the animation should behave, and the keyframes rule controls what happening during that animation. There are 8 animation properties in total. This challenge will keep it simple and cover the 2 most important ones first. Animation name sets the name of the animation, which is later used by keyframes to tell CSS which rules go with which animation. Animation duration sets the length of time for the animation. Keyframes is how to specify exactly what happens within the animation over the duration. This is done by giving CSS property for specific frames during the animation with percentage is ranging from 0 to 100%. If you compare this to a movie, the CSS property for 0% is how the element display in the opening scene. The CSS property for 100% is how the element appears at the end right before the credits roll. Then CSS applies the magic to the transition the elements over the given duration to act out the scenes. Here is an example to illustrate the uses of keyframes and animation properties. CSS apply magic to the transition properties. Here is the example to illustrate the uses of keyframes and the animation properties. The anime is the name of the animation. Animation name is colorful. Hashtag anime. So React animation name colorful. Animation duration 3 seconds. Keyframes colorful. 0% of background color blue. 100% background color yellow. For the element with the animated, the code is new above sets the animation name to colorful and set the animation duration to 3 seconds. That the keyframes will link to the animation property with the name colorful. This sets the color to blue at the beginning of the animation. 0% which will transition to yellow by the end of the animation. 100% are not limited to only beginning in transition. You can set property for the element for any percentage between 0 to 100. Create an animation for the element with the ID react. So this is ID react. Okay, this is the ID react. Okay, and the code is available. Set the animation name. Animation name to animation name to rainbow. Animation duration to 4s. We set 4 seconds. What is happening here? So we have given the name next. This is the name. So next declare a keyframe rule at the rate keyframe rainbow at 0% background color blue at so like this only 0% background color blue at the middle of the animation 50% background color green and 100% background color yellow. This is the rectangle and the rainbow. The element with the ID reacts to the animation name property with rainbow animation duration 4 seconds. Keyframe will shoot at the animation name rainbow. The keyframe rule for rainbow should use the background color on blue at 0%, green at 50%, or yellow at 100%. So if you run the test, you should use the animation name of keyframes. What? So these are the keyframes at the j. So if we This is blue, green, yellow. So black is the default color. So run the test, go to the next section. Use CSS animation to change the hover state of the button. You can use CSS keyframes to change the color of the button in its hover state. Here is an example to changing the width of an image on hover. Image over animation can move at 100% with 14 pixels. This is the image source. Note that ms stands for milliseconds equals to 1000 milliseconds. 1000 milliseconds equals to 1 second. Use CSS keyframes to change the background color. So using the button hover, this is the animation name. So we will give the keyframes to the background color. Background color. So keyframes to the background color of the bottom is because when it is hover, so it is in hover state mode. This is a 500 millisecond means 0.5 second. And because this color when the image is 100%, this 100%, 100%, and so the background color becomes this when you hover, but using some of the animations. This seconds. So the keyframe rule should use the animation name background color. There should be one rule under keyframe that changes the background color to this color at 100%. From the test, go to the next challenge. So modify fill mode of an animation. That's great, but it doesn't work right yet. Notice how the animation resets after 500 milliseconds and pass, causing the button to revert back to the original color like this. You want to button to stay highlighted. This can be done by setting the animation fill mode property to forward. The animation fill mode property specifies the style applied to the element. When the animation has finished, you can set it like so. Set the animation fill mode property of button over to forward, so the button is still highlighted. So in this animation fill mode, only change code this, so this gets highlighted. Go to the next challenge. Create a movement using CSS animation. On element has a specified position such as fixed or relative. The CSS offset property right, left, top, and bottom can be used in animation rules to create movement. As shown in the example below, you can push the item downward then upward by setting the top property of the 50% keyframe to 50 pixel and having it to 0 pixel for the first 0% and the last 100%. The keyframe background color blue, top 0, and then green and 50 pixel, and again yellow to 100% and top 0. Add a horizontal motion to the deep animation. So add the horizontal motion to the deep animation using the left offset property and the keyframe. key add to the keyframe rule. So rainbow starts at 0, top 0 pixel at 0% and moves to 25 pixel. Top 50 pixel and 0 pixel. And left 0. Then at 50% left left 25 pixel only, and at last left, and it says minus 25. Now see like this. 4 seconds, and after that this starts at left 0 pixel. So you can visualize it starts at 0 pixel blue, then go to the 25 pixel and minus 25 pixel. So the keyframes should add 0% use left offset of 0 pixel, at 50% left offset of 25 pixel, and left offset of minus 25 pixel at 100%. Go on the text. Go to the next challenge now. Create visual direction by fading an element from left to right. For this challenge, you will change the opacity of an animated element so it gradually fades as it reaches the right side of the screen. In this display animation, the round element with the gradient background moves to the right by the 50% mark of the animation for the and keyframes. You target the element with the ID ball. So target the element with the ID ball and add the opacity property set to 0.5. So at 50%, when you go to 50%, the opacity should be 0.1. Wow, like this. This is this is this is starting from 0, and at 50% going fade, and at 100% will go completely fade away, and again control this. So this animation name was fade animation, duration 3 seconds. So at 50% left 60% and opacity this. The keyframe rule for fade should set the opacity property to 0.1 at 50%. Go to the next challenge. Animate elements continually using the infinite animation count. The previously channel covered how to use some of the animation property, and the keyframe should another animation property is the animation iterative count, which allows you to control how many times you would like to look through the animation. Here is an example. So this is the example. In this case, the animation will stop after running 3 times, but it's possible to make the animation of continuously by setting value to infinite. So you have to use here infinite only. So this is using 3 and infinite. To keep the ball bouncing on the right as the continuous. So at 100% it is also again going to 0 pixel, at 0% also it is going to 0, using 1 second animation name bounce. At the 50% what it is doing is the top is getting smaller width big, so the top is top in sheet, and the width is getting bigger and height is getting smaller by 30 pixel minus in height, 30 pixel plus in this, and the top, so that so the so the 50 at 50% top to 49. Like if we give 2 only, if we give 20 only, like that. If we run the test, go to the next challenge, make a CSS heartbeat using an infinite animation count. Here is one more continuous animation example with the animation utility count property that uses the audio design in the previous challenge. The 1 second long heartbeat animation consists of 2 animated pieces. The hot element includes the before and after, which makes it the hot saved are animated to change size using the transform property, and the background div is animated to change its color using the background property. Choose the hot beating by adding animation iteration count property for both the back class and the hot class. So, which is the back class. In the back class also this goes to infinite control C forward before and after do not need any animation selected. Both and here also infinite. Animation name beat, animation name back deep. So back deep has the and 50% it is only getting color change, which is just the pink color, and 0% this scale is what the hot full hot scales 1 rotate minus 45 degrees. If you do not have this, rotate 45 degrees and add this also rotate 45 degrees. Where we have rotated here 45 degrees. Good. The animation iteration count property for the A should have the value of infinite. Infinite animation iteration count on back should have the infinite. If you run it, then go to the next challenge. Animation elements at variable rates. There are a variety of ways to alter the animation rates of similarly animated elements. So far, this has been achieved by applying an animation area count property and setting keyframes to illustrate the animation on the right consists of 2 stars that each decreases in size and opacity at the 20% mark in the keyframe rules, which creates the twinkle animation. You can change the keyframe rules to one of the elements so that they start twinkle at different rules. Alter the animation rate for the element with the class name star1 by changing keyframe rule to 50%. this all should be at 50%. No, what? So it's twinkle one. So it is a twinkle one. So this should be at 50%. So they have the different timing. Twinkle 2 is start 2 at 20%, scaling 0.5, transforming, and with the opacity. And if we run the test, you got the answer and go to the next challenge. Animate multiple elements at variable rate. In the previous challenge, you change the animation rate for the two similar animated elements by altering the keyframe, so you can achieve the same goal by manipulating the animation duration of multiple elements. In the animation running in the code editor, there are three stars in the sky that twinkle at the same rate or continuous loop. To make them twinkle at different rate, you can set the animation duration property to different values. Set the animation duration of the element with the fly star 1, star 2, and star 3, 1, 0.9. So star 1, which means star 1 has the 1 second, this had 0.9 second, and this star 3 has 1.1 second. So the animation duration property for the star should remain at 1 second. The animation duration property for the star 2 should be 0.9. Star animation duration for star 3 should be 1.1. If you run the test and go to the next challenge. Change animation timing with keywords. In CSS animation, the animation timing function property controls how quickly an animated element changes over the duration of the animation. If the animation is a car moving from point A to point B in a given time, your animation duration and animation timing function says how the car accelerates and decelerates over the course of the drive. There are a number of predefined keywords available for popular options. For example, the default value is ease, which starts slow, speeds up in the middle, and then slows down again in the end. And other option includes ease out, which is quickly in beginning and slow down. Ease in, which is slow in the beginning, then speeds up at the end, or linear, which applies a consistent animation speed throughout. For the elements with the IDs ball1 and ball2, and an animation and time function provided to each animated time function. Animated time function in the ball1 animated timing function is linear, which is which is ease in, and at the last it gets fast. So for the ball2 animation duration is should be linear, and ball2 should be ease out. Out is easing, in is fast in the second ball. The value of the animation timing function provided for the element with the ID ball1 should be linear. Value of the animation timing function property for the element ID ball2 should be ease out, but both are landing at the same time. This is starting slow, ease in and ending fast. This is starting fast, ending e- ending slow, which is ease out from the text. What for the remember that ease out? Oh my god, like this. Ease out. This is linear, which means ease in and ease out. These both are, one is ease in, the ball one is ease in. This is ease out. So learn how Bezier curve works. The last challenge introduced the animation timing function property and a few keywords that changes the speed of the animation over its duration. CSS offers an option other than keywords that provides even finer controls over how the animation plays out through the use of Bezier curves. In CSS animations, Bezier curves are used with the cubic Bezier function. The shape of the curve represents how the animation plays out. The curves line on a one-by-one coordinate system. The x-axis of this coordinate system is the duration of the animation. Think of it as a time scale, and the y-axis is the change in the animation. The cubic Bezier function consists of four main points that sits on its one-by-one grid. P0, P1, P2, P3. P0 and P3 are set for U. They are the beginning and the end point, which are always located respectively at the origin 0, 0 and 1, 1. You can set x and y values for the other 2 points, and where you place them in the grid dictates the shape of the curve for the animation to follow. This is done in CSS by declaring the x and y values of the p1 and p2 anchor points in the form x1, y1, x2, y2. Pulling it all together, here is the example of Bezier curve in CSS code. Animation timing function cubic Bezier 0.25, 0.25, 0.75, 0.75. In the following example above, the x and y values are equivalent for each x1 0.5, y1 0.25, and x2 and y2. x1, y1, x2, y2, which if we remember from geometry class, results in a line that extends from origin to point 1, 1. This animation is a linear change of the elements during the length of an animation and is the same as using linear keyword. In other words, it changes at constant speed. For the element with the ID of ball 1, change the value of animation timing function property from linear to the equivalent cubic Bezier function with the point value. So in the ball 1 control, see the value of the animation time property for the element with the ID ball 1 should be the cubic linear Bezier function ball 1. The function of the value of the animation timing function property for the element with the ball 2 should not be there. If you run the test, go to the next challenge. Use a Bezier curve to move a graphic. A previous challenge discussed the ease out keyword, then described the animation change that speeds up first and then slows down at the end of the animation. On the right, the difference between the ease out keyword for the blue element and linear keyword for the red element is demonstrated. Similar animation progression to the ease out keyword can be achieved by using custom cubic Bezier curve function. In general, changing the p1 and p2 anchor points drives the creation of different Bezier curves, which controls how the animation progresses through time. Here is an example of the cubic Bezier using values to mimic the ease out style. Remember, uh, remember that all cubic wizard function starts with p0 at 0, 0 and ends with p3 at 1, 1. In this example, the curve moves faster through y-axis, starts at 0, goes to p1 y-axis of 0, then goes to p2 y value of 1, then it moves through the x-axis 0 to start, then 0 to 0 for p1 up to 0.58 for p2. As a result, the change in the animation element progresses faster than the timing of the animation for the segment. Towards the ends of the cubic curve, the relationship between the change in x and y values reverse. The y values moves from 1 to 1, no change, and the x values moves from 0.58 to 1, making the animation changes progress slower compared to the animation duration. To see the effect of the desired curve in action, change the animation timing function of the element with id red to a cubic bezier function with x1, y1, x2, y2 value of, so this 0, 0, 0.58 and 1. This is equal to ease out. The value of the animation timing function property of the element with the id red should be given the cubic bezier function of x1, x2, x1, y1, x2, y2 values set respectively to 0, 0, 0.581. The elements with the id red should not longer have the animation timing function property of linear. The value of the animation timing function property for the element with the id blue should not be changed. If you run the test, where the last challenge, make motion more natural using a cubic bezier curve. This challenge animates an element to replicate the movement of the ball being juggled. Prior challenges covered the linear and ease out. Cubic bezier curves, however, neither depicts the juggling movement accurately. You need to customize the bezier curve for this. The animation timing function automatically looks at every keyframes when the animation iterative count is set to infinite. Automatically loops, since there is a keyframe reset in the middle uh, of the animation and during 50, the blue is used to identify animation progression and the upward and downward movement and of the ball. The following cubic simulates a juggling movement. Notice that the value of y2 is larger than 1, y2, x1, y1, y1. Although the cubic bezier curve is mapped on the 1 by 1 coordinate system, it can only accept x value from 0 to 1. The y value can be set to number larger than 1. This results in the bouncing movement that is ideal for simulation. The jogging mode. Change the value of animation timing function of the element with the id green to a cubic bezier function with x1 x2 value respectively. So the green 3.11441 and 444 and 1.649. So this has the cubic pizza massive moves in the value of the animation turning function property of the element with the ID gives to which you use a function applying to value as specified. So run the test elements ID green. Oh no. So animation function completely. Now this is good. So we have completed the applied visual design. Now for the applied accessibility, we will cover that topic in our new session. So until next time, see you.